the Stories. I'm here in Petaluma, California, and I'm with my bro, none other than the original GIOTIS. And I'm lost for words of how beautiful this place is and how beautiful this man is. And we're gonna get within the story to find out what makes his brother tick, what inspires him, and everything is. How you doing, bro?
It's good to see you, Moody.
Good to see you. Good to be seen.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, we got Glory. We got Glory in the video. Now Glory's cool. Glory's cool.
It's gonna be a little crazy.
Glory's a super cool dog. I'm not even a dog person, but this is the coolest dog ever. We'll be right back.
Glory's been in IG videos from the very beginning. She's gotten more and more aggressive about it. She's gonna have to have her own little stuff.
Glory's like, man, I want to be in the limelight too. So let's give our listeners an opportunity to get to really know you, man. Like, where you from? Why original GIOTIS? and tell them what you do, man. Just get everybody caught up.
Cool. Do we want to do the thing while the thing, or should we leave that for now?
No, well, just real quick, and we'll start. Yeah. Then we'll.
Cool. We got poets got double duty, right? So we got some cooking going on here in the background.
We give you the real.
Yeah, man. I've been writing for since I was at 15. I started really writing. I had a teacher that picked me up and really put me forward, held me in front of the class, gave me license to just go. And then later on, I realized, I'd been writing for a long time.
Oh, okay.
I'd already been writing for a long time, but I just didn't know it was just a way of telling stories, or I was into sci-fi. I know you're into a lot of comics.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
I was into Marvel, Defenders, X-Men. Those are my magazines.
Defenders. Okay.
Alpha Flight. How about that? So trying to tell those kind of stories, sci-fi stories, you had to put them into words somehow. You had to convey that. I wasn't a visual artist, so I had to use words to kind of capture that stuff. And then that ended up being a real valuable skill. Writing is a valuable skill, and so it's always been a part of my life in different ways. I'm a journalist now, and I've done professional writing of all different kinds. But in terms of poetry, when I was in my early 20s, I was living in LA, and that kind of special suffering of the early 20s, and poetry was a way to process that, and to really, even though I was doing short stories and other kinds of creative writing, it was the poetry that was allowing my fragmented mind to kind of integrate itself through that work. And that was a powerful time for me. I started performing at that time down at the famous espresso bar down in Pasadena. But eventually I went to college, and I had kids, and then I didn't perform for 20 plus years.
Wow.
Until 2018 or something like that.
So you just focus on the family thing, basically.
Yeah, I did lots of work and I did lots of writing, but getting out there and doing poetry, I kind of forgot about that. And then I rediscovered it and realized that it's such a direct way to connect.
Yeah.
You could write a great story, but unless you're published in the New Yorker or whatever, who even is going to read that? Whereas you could say anything you want in a poem, you can go wherever you live, I'm sure. You could go somewhere, and there's an open mic or some inviting community inviting you to come out and do your thing.
Indeed.
And once I did that, and once I started seeing people's eyeballs when I said stuff, and feel the room and the vibe of the room, and for those of you who write to, or do your creative work to deal with emotional, sometimes the only time I feel good in a whole week is that time when I'm on stage.
Let's go.
No stress, no anxiety. It's you think it is a stressful situation to be up there and perform and be on stage, but it's kind of the opposite sometimes.
Wow. Why the name Original GIOTIS?
It's kind of funny. Well, a couple of people started calling me GIOTIS. So I've taken on the
I'm
name.
one of those people, by the way.
And my publisher here, my editor of the local paper that one of the magazines I write for, also within the writer context, both started calling me GIOTIS. So I was like, as a writer, my name is Michael GIOTIS. As a writer, I started from my poetical side and from my professional journalistic side. At the same time, two people I super respect started giving me that name GIOTIS. So I just took that. And I think in my heritage, which I'm Greek, often we use that last name as the way of referring to a person in normal conversation in Greece. So taking that mantle on myself was a way of like proclaiming myself an adult and a person of consequence of my own, not a shadow of my father or the next generation, but me myself, not only GIOTIS, but original GIOTIS.
Originals, I love it, I love it, love it. And we're at the home of the original GIOTIS. What's up, man? You on camera? You gonna be famous. So, like,
okay.
When you started writing, what were some of your inspirations, man? Who or what really inspired you to write? What are some of your muses?
We mentioned E.E. Cummings the other day.
Yes.
I got turned on to E.E. Cummings by a friend of mine, who in high school, this friend was an inspiration for mine. This is fucked right now because we left it too long, so we'll have to come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
So,
that's fine. It's walk and talk.
I had this, like, I started to get a little braver about my work, and I submitted my poetry into the like literary arts magazine in my high school. And being a poet, curious poet type, I dug into the submittal box and pulled out some other people's stuff and just started reading through what other people had submitted.
Ah.
And this one, and were they anonymous at that point? No. This one other student's stuff, I was like, wow, it was so beautiful and natural, like natural world poetry, but lyrical and like unconventional in its spacing and everything. So that poet, Anna Kogel, became a big influence on me at like my youngest poetical age, was like another student at the school. Well, once I met her and became close with her, she kind of really turned me on to E.E. Cummings, that 100 selected poems, right? And everyone knows that one. And I got to tell you, I realized a lot of what I loved and what she was doing was coming from E.E. Cummings. So I just went in deep to that. And then from there, there's a bunch of Greek poets. I know you heard me talk about this before, but early 20th century, there was a lot of amazing Greek poets that were like struggling against sort of an enforced aristocratic language. And they were trying to write in the language of the people. There were two languages in Greece at that time, both Greek. But one was an aristocrat and one was the people's language. And early in the 20th century, the poets started to write in the people's language. And it led to kind of like a revolution of attitudes toward language and to sort of overthrow this imposed monarchy that had been there. So those poets are Yanis Ritsos, George Chaferis, Kavafis, Elitis. Some of those are Nobel laureates, and they drew from some of the Chinese and Japanese styles of like very sparse, simple language, simple, unattached imagery, and I drew a lot on that. So a lot of my poetry that doesn't come out too much in performances is actually short poems. I sort of specialize in short poems, but since I've become more of a performance poet, I do more of the longer stuff, of course, on stage. But I still love a short poem.
Walk us through like the very first time like you got on stage, man. Or I guess after taking a 20-year hiatus and coming back to it. How was that like?
Well, I started to realize that I could perform the poetry just the way I had written it. Like when I came back to poetry after my my undergrad degree in philosophy, I kind of learned to write with constraints in philosophy. And so I came back to my writing. I was like, I need to find my voice that I never quite found before. And so I just started doing it. And it turns out it was just me talking.
Right.
You know, poetically, just making it a little more poetic. And by the way, we're doing some pop stickers here because I got to feed the family before Moody and I head off to the Poetry Slam down in Berkeley in a little bit. So I just started like real simple with friends, you know, here and there, sharing, doing readings in my house of like other people. So like invite friends over for a reading and say, don't bring your own stuff, let's read the greats. And using that to practice my technique. Like I read Charles Bukowski. I kind of specialize in performing Bukowski. And but others too. And that really helped hone my ability to like stand and read and project. So by the time I kind of came around to my own work, and I met a publisher who's like, how can I help you? And I'm like, I have this old book that's just sitting here that's never been published. And he's like, let's hear it. So I just spit a poem right there, and he's like, all right, let's do it.
Nice.
And he's become an editor. Like I don't perform anything that he doesn't read first and help me shape a little bit. And from there, I just started going to open mics, and I started around here in Petaluma, which is kind of like a bit of an established older crowd. Like I might be the youngest there. I'm Gen X. It's more like a baby boomer crowd, to be honest. But they're inviting, and it's open mic, 2 hours, a mix of people and styles, and that was cool. But when I started going down to Berkeley and hearing the poets down there, like one after another, giving it all and honing each other and working together, and really not some people that are coming from a bedroom to share their stuff once in a while, but like people honing each other's work. That really inspired me, like, to get next level. And then I met Moody through that group, and all the awesome poets on Instagram. I know during COVID we pushed each other. There were workshops. There was just like the chance to perform every day. And so now I have my own event up here. I do a couple open mics that I really like. And occasionally I'll do a slam. I'm not really a slam poet. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I'm always welcome there, and I love to go and listen and contribute to that. So I just walk around. I did street poetry for a little while. I should say, like in between there, where I just start walking through like crowded streets in San Francisco, like spitting my stuff. Especially in like the financial district where people are like in suits and they're like, what's going on? Like I just kind of look a little bit like that, and then you start talking at a crosswalk, like a 35-second poem that they're just long enough for them to be at that red light in between. They're trying to ignore me or whatever.
Right. Now I know you mentioned like you have a lot of admiration from the classical poets and how they inspired you, and you find these works of art through these words. Would that be like the foundation of the found poets? Is that the inspiration of your brand, the found poets?
Nice, good question. So hold on, can you get loud again in 1 second?
It's all good. You're cooking up, baby. You're cooking up morsels for the soul and for the mind at the same time.
Gotta feed the family.
Yeah, indeed.
Found poets, like I like found poetry. Found poetry is like things that were written that weren't intended to be poetry but strike you as poetry. I like short poems, I said. So here's a found poem I really love, written on the side of a passing commercial van. It said, "Secure destruction you can trust."
Okay, that's pretty deep, man.
Yeah,
so but I really like that, man, and that's been the brand of Found Poets.
Yeah,
man. I
so
like
we
that.
did Found Poetry. It was an IG show I did for a while where people would, a feature would do found poems and other poets they loved, and then other people would come on and read other people, always reading other people's stuff.
And I remember you brought me on.
Of course.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah, so when we started a live show here, it's a showcase. It's not an open mic. We bring the best poets from the area, good performers, make it a good night out, like entertaining, you know? And then we bring in features from out of the area. We brought in Moody from South Carolina. He did 2 shows this weekend. They were dope. It was so much fun.
Appreciate it, man.
Moody's the hardest working man you'll find in poetry. So he set up 2 other workshops that we did. And then we went to Oakland yesterday. We're going to Berkeley tonight.
Yeah.
And the gentleman's featuring down there in Berkeley. So yeah, you know, like the more you give into it, the more you're going to get out of it. Whether it's you writing, but one thing I would say, because I don't know how much time we have, but I would encourage you to get out there. Get out there, and like, I think feedback hurts. When I heard feedback, I hate that feeling inside. But let that feeling pass, and then take those words. And you can take it or leave it. Like that person is talking bullshit. after your feelings go, you might recognize that. But that person might be giving you jewels. And take it and use it and make yourself better.
Well, that be said, y'all, we right on time, man. That's a good way to end it. Leaving those words of encouragement and inspiration. And there you have it. All the way in Petaluma, California with this brother right here, the original GIOTIS, man. Yeah, right here, baby. Hey, y'all know what it is. Be great. Be kind. Stay on the grind. See you next time. Peace.
Yeah, that's that feel good.